Hey there, this is Jamie and welcome back. We're here to tackle our first piece of analysis for our Zappos project. We've scraped the website, we've exported the data into Excel, we've cleaned the data, and now we have somewhere around 231 rows, each row representing a single model of shoe. If you haven't scraped Zappos website the exact same day and time as I have, your number will differ because their inventory differs, but you should be roughly around there. So we're going to get started by having our first look at differences between brands of shoes. Which ones are more expensive, which are more likely to be on sale, which have the most reviews, how do they vary in terms of true to size and true to width ratings, and then how do they vary in terms of overall rating, which is the thing we're probably most interested in. I think it's the thing that a customer is likely to look at when they ask which shoe is rated the best. And then we have these two other ratings. How do these shoes rate for comfort and style? So let's dig in. We're going to start by making a table that just breaks the averages of all those variables down by the different brands. The easiest way to do that in Excel is by using a pivot table. You could do it with a bunch of average if commands, but it would take a really long time. And pivot tables are powerful. Once you figure them out, they're easy to use. And they're one of the things that people who have gone out into the workforce after taking my class have said, hey, you know what I use? I use pivot tables. So here, you're going to use pivot tables too. To make a pivot table, you click into any cell within the table that contains your data. And for us, here we are, any old cell. Because if you go to Insert and then choose Pivot Table, Excel knows that you have clicked in a table or range. So when you go to create a pivot table, if you're on a PC, your screen might look a little bit different, but the options should be the same. The first is choosing the data that you want to analyze, and that's this upper table. And it's got the green line around it, you can see, because Excel knows that that's a table and it magically outlines it. And then the other question it needs after you select the data is you tell it where. So a new worksheet, which it's going to populate down here, or if there's a place you want to put it, you tell it. So let's just let it do its default. And it's going to give us another box, another sheet that's called Sheet 2. You can see that the pivot table fields are already up and ready to go. I'm going to move it so that it's the third tab in my sheet, and I'm going to call it A1 because it's my first analysis tab. So what do I want here? I want to see how our brands vary in terms of the variables we've created. So to start, I'm going to take brand and I'm going to drag it down into rows. And now you can see that each brand is basically a heading for a row. And then I'm going to start by dragging model down into values. And the reason for that is because I want to see how many models we have of each shoe. And a spoiler alert here is I've already done this analysis on this data. And I'm bringing this to your attention, count of model. Let's center this. And we've got only one Newton running shoe. And we've got only 4 Puma shoes. That's going to cause us a little bit of grief down the line when we try to figure out how the shoes differ, what's better and what's worse. Because with only one shoe, we can't really evaluate a whole brand of shoe. And then these 4 Puma shoes, they all have the same rating for a number of things. And so we're not really getting a sense of how Puma's doing overall because the sample size of their shoes is just not large enough. So in this example, if you find this when you're doing your women's shoes, because you're not turning this in, right? This is the analysis for the men's shoes. You're going to repeat it on the women's shoes. If you see something like this where there's 1 or 4, let's say 5 or less, definitely don't use anything 5 or less. But we're going to go back to our data here, our clean data, and we're going to remove the Newton and the Puma shoes. So to do that, under data, I add a filter. And then under brand, I click Newton and Puma. and I've got 5 shoes, the single Newton and the 4 Pumas. I'm going to delete them all. Then I'll remove the filter, and now I've got 5 fewer shoes, 226 instead of 231. Now if I go back into my pivot table and I right click in that table, I have this option called refresh. If I click refresh, it now removes Puma and Newton, and I'm ready to go. So let's drag count of model back out of there. And now let's get started on our analysis. So I'd like to know how these shoes vary by price, and I'd like to know how they vary versus the percent of them that are on sale. I'm going to come down and I'm going to grab true to size. I'm going to grab true to width. I'm going to grab overall rating, comfort rating, and style rating. The rest of the ones I'm not going to look at for the purposes of this assignment. So one of the things I want you to notice is that in each of these headings, it tells you what's in the column. And the key word that what we're seeing here is sum. For instance, here in price, it's taken the price of each Adidas running shoe and added them up. That's what it would cost you to buy one of each Adidas shoes off of Zappos, which really isn't what we're interested in at all. We want to know what the average price of these shoes are. And so over in our pivot table fields, we can see where it says sum of price. We've got to change this. Depending on your computer, you're going to get there a different way. On my Mac, I hit the information and it comes up and I'm able to click average. And then I say, okay. I'm going to have to change all of these. If you don't have an information, or if you're on a PC, you could try right click and then field settings. You're looking for field settings. If neither of these worked for your computer, you're going to Google it, pause the video and come back. But if you're here, we're just going to click average. And we want to average all of these because the sum is very rarely the thing we want. All right, it's a bit of a mess, but let's just take a look at what we need or what we're dealing with. So average of price, I'm going to change that because average of price is a little bit funny. I'm going to change that so that it says average price. So an Adidas running shoe on average in our data that we collected is $95, whereas a Mizuno is $167. When we've got information that we're summarizing in a table like this, we always want to express it as it should be. Like here, these are dollars and cents. Let's express it as dollars and cents. Average of on sale, this is the percent of shoes that are on sale. Percent on sale. This should be expressed as a percentage. And let's give ourselves 1 decimal place. So we can see that 60.9% of Adidas shoes are on sale, just under 6% of Hoka shoes are on sale, and nothing by Topo is on sale. Average of true to size and true to width, those are both percentages. I could have actually done all 3 of these columns together, but I'll grab these 2 at the same time and call them percentage and give them 1 decimal place. And then these 3, average of overall, average of comfort, and average of style, we're going to highlight all these and just format them as a number. Okay, so we're going to call this TTS. Oh, it doesn't like that. Pivot field name. Oh, it doesn't like that. So this is going to be percent. What should we call this? Percent. Let's just call it true to size, and we know that that's the percentage of respondents saying that a shoe is true to size. So on Adidas shoes, the average across all of their models of shoes, 87% of people give it a true to size rating, saying it's true to size. And we'll call this true to width. And so this means 89.9% of people across all of the brands of Adidas shoes have said that they're true to size. This is going to be average overall rating, average comfort rating, and average style rating. Okay. Now we've got this grand total row at the bottom, and I don't like grand totals unless there's something meaningful or some meaningful reason we need them. So to remove this, on my Mac, it's under design, and then I've got subtotals and grand totals, and I'm going to turn it off for rows and columns. I believe on my PC at work there's a right click, and it might be under something like pivot table options, and if you can't find it on either of those, you're going to want to Google it. So for now, I want to just leave this as is, and I'm going to work on doing some formatting, and then we'll do some analysis. So see how all these columns are a different width? I'm really not a fan of that. To fix it, we allow the text to be wrapped. Then we highlight all the rows and try to make them, average is maybe the biggest word on the first line. But average price needs to be a little bit wider. You can center them. Let's make them a little bit bigger. Okay, that's the data analyzed, or not analyzed, it's presented now and ready to go. So before I figure out what my next step is, I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite things, which is inserting a text box. And if I'm in a spreadsheet and I know I've got a list of things that I want to think about or to talk about or address, I will take my instructions out of my description, project description, or whatever I'm trying to work on, and I will copy and paste them here. So create a pivot table showing how average price, MSRP, we're ignoring that one, percent on sale, overall rating, comfort, style, true to size, true to width, vary by brand. Use your brands as the rows, which we did, and the average of the variables as your values. That we did. Apply conditional formatting data bars to each column and look for patterns. So what does that mean? Let's take our conditional formatting that we worked with earlier, and let's apply it to price. We'll use data bars, price, dollars or money. Let's make those as green. Now we can quickly see that Mizuno is the most expensive, then Hoka, and then Topo. Because we've added a visual, it becomes a lot easier to understand. Let's do the same thing for percent on sale. Conditional formatting, since it's a dollar amount, we'll use the same color. So Skechers is the most likely shoe to be on sale, and that's interesting because it also looks like it's one of the lowest prices. Adidas Running also likely to be on sale and a very low price. Hoka and Topo are our least likely shoes to be on sale, and that's interesting because they don't seem to be the most expensive, but perhaps there's a reason why those shoes don't go on sale. Let's take a look at our true to size and true to width. I'm going to give these a different color. Let's go blue. This, well, I don't see as much variation here, right? These look true to width. Look how similar brands are with respect to true to width. In fact, everybody's got true to width more than 80%, right? So most people seem to think the shoes are true to width. True to size, there's a little more variability. Only a couple over 90%, Topo, Asics, and only a couple below 80%, Saucony and On. So it looks like there's more there, but not a lot to see with true to width because all the brands are within a much narrower band. Let's take a look at our overall ratings, or all of our ratings. And let's give these, let them be red. And now we can see that in terms of average overall rating, our most highly rated shoes appear to be Asics at 4.4 and Topo Athletic at 4.43. They're very close. Our lowest rated shoes seem to be Adidas, Altra, and New Balance, coming in all with average ratings below 4. In terms of comfort rating, it seems like people are much harder on their comfort rating. Only 2 brands, Topo and Under Armour, have average comfort ratings above 4. And when it comes to style, it seems like most everybody's above 4, except for Adidas. People think those are unstylish. Hoka, yuck, people say. And oh look, Altra, right? They say that is an ugly shoe. So how do we make sense of this? I mean, I guess we sort of just did, but one of the ways I like to play with this is to use this drop-down arrow. And I like to sort by something, like let's sort by average price in a descending order. Now I can see everything is sorted by price. And that also allows me to think, well, what's related to price? The higher price shoes appear to be less likely to be on sale. Mizuno 17, Hoka 5, Topo 0. And then the least expensive shoes, look at this, Adidas. We've got 3 brands that come in under $100 per pair on average, and they're each well more than half on sale. Well, actually, no. Under Armour set 28% on sale. Under Armour just appears to be a shoe that's sold at a low price point, whereas Skechers, maybe it's inexpensive because a lot of them are on sale. So now, what do we see? So we're looking here at overall patterns, just trying to figure out kind of what's going on. There's a lot of information in this table, right? And you don't need to explain everything to me, but I want you to address a couple of things. Make sure you mention at least 3 different brands. Like sometimes a student will look at this and they'll decide, oh, Topo is the best brand of shoe, and they'll only talk about Topo. We don't know that Topo is really the best brand of shoe, and even though it might be for you, we're kind of thinking about what the general consumer might like. So we want to cover a variety of things, right? Think of yourself like a commentator. But you want to find a few interesting things. Make sure you're talking about at least 3 brands. Think at least something with regard to price. Think about at least somehow ratings, and then at least talk a little bit about fit. And so how I might address this, if I were going to be describing this, is to say some of the things that I said when I first started looking at it. If I were to type something up, I might, say something that will take me a long time to type here, but I might say that Mizuno and Hoka are the 2 most expensive brands of shoe, while Skechers and Under Armour, notice how Skechers, I capitalized it completely, like it's capitalized, and Under Armour is O-U-R, that British spelling. Make sure you get it right here, are the 2 least expensive shoes. Generally, more expensive shoes tend to be less likely, more expensive brands of shoes are less likely, what am I trying to say? More expensive brands of shoes have fewer models on sale. With the exception of Armour, have fewer models on sale, and vice versa. The exception is Under Armour. Which seems to sell at a generally low price point. So in terms of size, let's sort by true to size. It looks to me like Topo, Athletic, and ASICS have the highest ratings for being true to size. And look, they're not the highest for true to width. Mizuno and Under Armour are also up there, but Topo and ASICS are both high in both regards. And both brands score well for being true to width. Now let's just sort by overall rating. Topo and ASICS are the highest. Oh, interesting. They have the highest ratings for being true to size. They do well for true to width, but they also have the highest overall rating. Topo Athletic and ASICS also are the highest rated brands for overall rating. And let's see here. ASICS doesn't have a fantastic comfort rating, although it does rate pretty well for style. But Topo is second highest for comfort. Let's just see. Take a look at comfort. While Under Armour is the highest, we're going to just call it the most comfortable shoe, is rated as the most comfortable shoe. It's actually rated as both the most comfortable and the most stylish. Huh. And Topo's second for both. Okay, is rated first for both comfort and style, while Topo Athletic comes in second. So I can see, right away we've got some themes, like Topo and ASICS are high rating for the true to size, and they score well for true to width. They're the highest two for overall rating. And then Under Armour is rated high for comfort and style, and it's also one of our least expensive shoes. And so, there might be some bargain there to be seen, but let's just add a little bit of color here. And that's really about what I would do for describing that section, beginning to understand differences. Other things I see that are worth noting is Altra is, not scoring very well on any of these, nor is Adidas Running. And so maybe we'll just add that. Neither Adidas Running, a lowercase a, ADIDAS Running, nor Altra are rated very highly by users for overall comfort or style. Brooks really isn't either, but it gets an above 4 overall rating, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Oh, Adidas and the New Balance has a high, I don't know, I'm gonna leave it like that. Save. All right, that's how I would address the first question, setting it up, making sure that I address the questions in the assignment, and writing it up. So that's about what it'll look like. You'll be looking at women's. You may see different things, And there are a variety of different things I could have talked about, but that's just my initial summary. As things emerge in the rest of the project, we might have to redirect our focus. Anyway, that's me rambling. I will see you soon.